can recite along with me. Thank you very much, Nandita Prabhu. I'm very sorry for being late. Today we are discussing 54 chapter 10 to 8 and then 24th chapter and from 54 through 61. Narayanam namaskritya naram chaiva narottamam devim saraswatim vyasam tato jaya mudiryeta nashtaprayeshu bhadreshu nityam bhagavat sevaya bhagavat tulyam shloke bhaktir bhavati naishtaki. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Start from 54.
Shukadeva Goswami continued, when Satyavrata had thus prayed to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who had assumed the form of a fish, the Lord, while moving in the water of inundation, explained to him the absolute truth.
The Supreme Personality of Godhead thus explained to King Satyavrata the spiritual science known as Sankhya Yoga, the science by which one distinguishes between matter and spirit, in other words, Bhakti Yoga, along with the instructions contained in the Puranas, the old history, and the Samhita. The Lord explained himself in all these literatures.
While sitting in the boat, King Satyavrata, accompanied by the great saintly persons, listened to the instructions of the Supreme Personality of Godhead in regard to self-realization. These instructions were all from the eternal Vedic literature. Brahma, thus this king and sages had no doubt about the absolute truth.
The end of the last inundation during the period of Svayambhuva Manu, the Supreme Personality of Godhead killed the demon named Hayagriva and delivered all the Vedic literatures to Lord Brahma when Lord Brahma awakened from sleeping.
King Satyavrata was illuminated with all Vedic knowledge in the mercy of Lord Vishnu, and in this period he has now taken birth as Vaivasvata Manu, the son of the sun god.
This story concerning the great King Satyavrata and the fish incarnation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Vishnu, is a great transcendental narration. Anyone who hears it is delivered from the reactions of sinful life.
One who narrates this description of Matsya incarnation and King Satyavrata will certainly have all his ambitions fulfilled, and he will undoubtedly return home back to Godhead.
प्रलय पयसि साधुः सुप्तशक्ते मूर्खेभ्यः श्रुतिगणमपनीतं प्रत्युपादत् हत्वा दितिजमक्तयदः यो ब्रह्म सत्यव्रतानां तमहमखिलहेतुं जिह्वमीनं नतोऽस्मिन् प्रलय पयसि धातु सुप्तशक्ते मुख्यः श्रुतिगणमपनीतं प्रत्युपादात् हत्वा द्विजकमथयत यो ब्रह्म सत्यव्रतानां तमहं किल हेतुं जिह्वमीनं नतोऽस्मि प्रलय पयसि धातुः सुप्तशक्ते मूर्खेभ्यः श्रुतिगणमपनीतं प्रत्युपादात् हत्वा द्विजमकथयद यो ब्रह्म सत्यव्रतानां तमहमखिल हेतुं जिह्वमीनं नतोऽस्मि प्रलय प्रयासी in the water of inundation Dhatu from Lord Brahma, Saptasakte who was inert because of sleeping, Mukhepyah from the mouth, Shruti Ganam Vedic record, Apanitham stolen, Pratyupadata give back to him, Hatva by killing, Ditijam the great demon, Aktayat explained, yeah, one who, Brahma Vedic knowledge, Satyavratanam for the enlightenment of Satyavrata and the great saintly person. Tam unto him, Aham I, Akila Hetum unto the cause of all causes, Simha Minam appearing as and pretending to be great fish, Nataham Asmi, I offer my respectful obeisance. Translation, I offer my respectful obeisances unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who pretended to be a gigantic fish, who restored the Vedic literature to Lord Brahma when Lord Brahma awakened from sleep, and who explained the essence of Vedic literature to King Satyavrata, the great saintly person. Purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Here is summary of Satyavrata's meeting with the fish incarnation of Lord Vishnu. Lord Vishnu's purpose was to take back all the Vedic literature from the demon Hayagriva and restore them to Lord Brahma. Incidentally, by his causeless mercy, Lord the Lord spoke with Satyavrata. The word Satyavratanam is significant because it indicates that those who on the level of Satyavrata can take knowledge from the Vedas delivered by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Whatever is spoken by the Supreme Lord is accepted as Vedas. As stated in Bhagavad Gita, Vedanta Krid Veda with the Supreme Personality of Godhead is the compiler of all Vedic knowledge, and he knows the purport of the Vedas. Therefore, anyone who takes knowledge from the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, or from Bhagavad Gita as it is, knows the purpose of the Vedas. Vedeshcha sarvam aham eva vedya. One cannot understand Vedic knowledge from the Vedavat-rata, who read the Vedas and misconstrue their subject matter. One has to know the Vedas from the Supreme Personality of God. Thus, and the Bhakti Vedanta purport of the 8th canto, 24th chapter of the Srimad Bhagavatam, entitled Matsya, the Lord's fish incarnation. This commentation has been finished in our New Delhi center today, the 1st of September 1976, the day of Radha Ashtami, by the grace of Supreme Personality of Godhead and the Acharyas. Srila Narottam Das Thakur says, Tadendra Charanat Sevi Bhakta Sena Vasa Janame Janme Hoye Ei Abhilash. I am attempting to present Srimad Bhagavatam in English language by the order of my spiritual master, Srimad Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, and by his grace, the work of translation is gradually progressing. The European and American devotees who have joined the Krishna consciousness movement are helping me considerably. Thus, we have expectations of finishing the great task before my passing away. All glories to Sri Guru and Gauranga. End of the 8th canto. Prabhupada ki jai. This wonderful commentary right there. He's actually telling the day when things happened. 1976. I was probably 7 years old. How old are you? How old are you now? 9. And you are such an amazing soul. Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurum Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupaha Kadamayam Dadatim Swapadantikam Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Bhaivacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivas Adi Kaur Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Thank you for all coming. Again, with no qualification of reading, especially to all the Bhagavatas who are sitting here. And this is the section for my own purification. I'll make an attempt to what I understood to share with you. So this is overall discussion. 8th canto is now complete, and especially this section, chapter 24. I'll read a little bit of a summary, get the context of what is this whole chapter 24 is about, especially with someone who is new, join online. That you can also see on vedabase.io under Srimad Bhagavatam. And if you go to Canto 8 in chapter 24, you will see the summary, Matsya, the Lord's fish incarnation. I'll just read this part, first part of it. This chapter describes the Supreme Personality of Godhead's incarnation as a fish, and it also describes the saving of Maharaj Satyavata from an inundation. The Supreme Personality of Godhead expands himself by uh, Swamsa, his personal expansion, and Vibhi Namamsa, his expansion as the living entity. As stated in Bhagavad Gita 4.8, Pratyahara sadhunam vinashaya cha dushkritam. The Supreme Personality of Godhead appears on this planet for the protection of the sadhus or the devotees, for the destruction of the miscreants or non-devotees. He especially descends to give protection to the cows, the brahmanas, the demigods, the devotees, and the Vedic system of religion. Thus he appears in various forms, sometimes as a fish, sometimes a boar, sometimes Narsimhadev, sometimes Vamanadev, and so on. But in any form or incarnation, although he comes within the atmosphere of the material modes of nature, he is unaffected. He is the sign of his supreme controlling power. Although he comes within the material atmosphere, Maya cannot touch him. Therefore, no material qualities can be attributed to him in any degree. Once at the end of previous kalpa, a demon named Hayagriva wanted to take the Vedic knowledge from Lord Brahma at the time of annihilation. Therefore, the Supreme Personality of Godhead took the incarnation of the fish at the beginning of the period of Swayambhuva Manu and saved the Vedas. During the reign of Chakshusha Manu, there was a king named Satyavrata, who was a great pious ruler. To save him, the Lord appeared as a fish incarnation for a second time. King Satyavrata later became the son of the sun god and was known as Shraddhadeva. He was established as Manu by the Supreme Personality of God. To receive the favor of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, King Satyavrata engaged in the austerity of subsisting only by drinking water. Once, while performing this austerity on the bank of Kratmala river and offering oblations of water with the palm of his hands, he found a small fish. The fish appealed to the king for protection, asking the king to keep him in a safe place. Although king did not know that the small fish was the Supreme Personality of God, he gave shelter to the fish and kept him in a water jug. The fish, being the Supreme Personality of Godhead, wanted to show his potency to King Satyavrata, and thus he immediately expanded his body in such a way that he could no longer be kept in the jug of water. The king then put the fish in big well, but the well was also too small. Then king put the fish in a lake, but the lake was also unsustainable. Finally, the king put the fish in the sea, but even the sea could not accommodate him. Thus, the king understood that the fish was no one else but the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Being pleased with the king, and he requested the Lord to describe his incarnation as fish. The personality of Godhead, being pleased with the king, informed him that within a week there would be an inundation throughout the universe, and that the fish incarnation would protect the king along with the rishis, herbs, seeds, and other living entities in a boat which would be attached to the fish's horn. After saying this, the Lord disappeared. King Satyavrata offered respectful obeisances to the Supreme Lord and continued to meditate upon him. In due course of time, annihilation took place, and king saw a boat coming near. After getting aboard with learned Brahmins and the saintly persons, he offered prayers to worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The Supreme Lord is situated in everyone's heart, and thus he taught Maharaj Satyavrata and the saintly person about the Vedic knowledge from the core of the heart. King Satyavrata took his next birth as Vivaswata Manu, who is mentioned in Bhagavad Gita, Vivashwan Manve Praha. The sun god spoke the science of Bhagavad Gita to his son Manu. Because of being the son of Vivaswan, this Manu is known as Vaivasvata Manu. In text 59, the translation says that the story concerning the great Satyavrata and the fish incarnation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead Vishnu is a great transcendental narration. Anyone who hears it is delivered from the reactions of sinful life. The next one says, one who narrates this description to Matsya incarnation of the Matsya incarnation and King Satyavrata will certainly have all his ambitions fulfilled, and he will undoubtedly return home back to God. Let's go back. Thank you for allowing me to read this. I think this is amazing how when Lord comes as fish, it is considered in the mode of ignorance. And of course, Lord is beyond the three modes. He also comes as, and in the Mahabharata, in the war, he is a charioteer of Arjuna, getting kicked by Arjuna. He takes this humble position every time to save his devotees. Every time. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came and did the same thing with Lord Nityananda, going door to door and begging people just to say the holy name. I think there's a whole lot to learn. I think in this whole chapter there was a discussion around, discussion around the avatars, and also towards the end the discussion around the right guru. I think which was covered in the previous session, and then in this one we were hearing that how the demon stole the Vedas from Brahma. I was just wondering what technology that must be to steal the audio files in the mind of Brahma. It's not like he's taking physical books, saying, okay, I'm going to steal it now, or somewhere in audio files on your laptop phone. He's actually stealing the complete audio or the Shruti from Brahma's mind. How elevated this demon must be, knowing this technology, which is also coming from Vedas actually, how to do this. And second is, we have to be careful, we have to be very careful and not to sleep for those seconds that someone comes and steals or put some material desires into our hearts. So we have to be very, very careful. Especially, we are so fortunate that Prabhupada has actually created this infrastructure, which I always think, I don't know what would have been the life. That as these purports are telling that anyone who recites this or hear this goes back to Godhead. There are more than 7 billion people or 8 billion people on this planet Earth only, and then so many other creatures. And outside of Hare Krishna or ISKCON movement, really there is no opportunity pretty much to hear this and or recite this. This infrastructure, this capability, this whole thing that Srila Prabhupada has created has simplified this whole process, like just, eating candy, that you can get the taste of sweet, or eating just something, getting something so easily that we sometimes lose the value of it. Thanks, Srila Prabhupada, for doing this for us. Why fish incarnation when fish is in Samana? Again, we said Lord is very merciful. So whatever form he takes, one is it is beyond the three modes of material nature. And again, fish incarnation was not an ordinary incarnation. If I'm right, it was huge, right? Did not fit in the sea. It was over 8 million miles long, right? Can you imagine? 8 million miles long. How do you even see the incarnation? It won't fit on this planet Earth for sure. And we do boat festival. We take Radha Madhav in the boat there. We take the boat here, 8 million mile long. Lord himself is taking actually the Lord's boat festival. So that's the difference. When Lord does something, that boat festival cannot be imagined. In Srila Prabhupada, in this verse, gave a specific reference to the Bhagavad Gita's verse, I think it is 15.15 if I'm right. Yes. Sarvasya chaham hridaya sannivishto mattah smriti jnana mapohanam cha vedeshya sarve hamreva vedyo vedanta krat ved videhu chaham. Translation of that: I am seated in everyone's heart, and from me come remembrance, knowledge, and forgetfulness. By all the Vedas, I am to be known. Indeed, I am the compiler of the Vedanta, and I am the knower of the Vedas. This is the reference Srila Prabhupada gives in this. It is so interesting that, Vedas, which primarily discuss the karma kand part predominantly, and then there's some conclusion in the part which talks about the bhakti yoga process. And then it is illustrated by Puranas and other writings of the our acharyas. So important for us to understand, and Lord himself spoke Bhagavad Gita. It's so important for us to understand the order of reading also. How do we really, because otherwise we can really become Vedavata as it is described here, that we can recite the Vedas, we can recite the verses, we can do so many great things, but missing the point which is described in this verse 15, chapter 15, verse 15, that by all the Vedas I am to be known. Krishna is to be known. And if in this process we do not understand Krishna, if we do not understand our relationship with Krishna, then all the readings of the Vedas really become useless, because then we become pious, of course. We go to the higher planet, but we come back. We come back and take birth, go through the old age, disease, and death. So what is the use of it? There is absolutely no benefit that comes out of it if we have to take the material birth again, even after our ability to recite the Vedas. So this is one of my favorite verse also. I am seated in everyone's heart, and that is how he transferred or gave the knowledge to King Satyavrata and the sages who were sitting in the boat. This is amazing that there was from the breath, Lord was sharing the knowledge, and they all fully understood the complete knowledge. I don't know what is the duration. It went for very, very long time, this whole process, the boat festival, where Lord himself was pulling the boat. So, another lesson that I take it from here, where he refers to the one cannot understand the Vedic knowledge from the Vedavata Rathas who read the Veda. So this another thing that we can take it is that our association. We have to be extremely careful, because what happens is that lot of places, all of you are not impacted, but lot of families who are part of, say, Bhakti Prakshas or other things, they are very much, it is very attracting when we meet people who can recite and who can say the verses, who can say the entire Bhagavad Gita, for example, extremely well. And in that process, we can actually misguide ourselves by changing our association. And I see that almost every time that, there are certain, and it's a good thing that certain temple teaches that we all have to recite, everybody should be able to learn the 700 verses of Bhagavad Gita or the Srimad Bhagavatam or other scriptures. And we see this, these small children and the families, they can actually recite this extremely well with beautiful pronunciation. It is so attractive, so attractive. I feel like, okay, my whole family has to do this. But in that process, we miss the point which is described in 15:15, that I am to be known from the Vedas. In that process of recitation, actually nobody teaches them that why are they doing it and what is the purpose of it. And it also creates a little bit of a pride in the heart that I can do this, and then we want to show off and want to go on stage programs. That is why this whole structure that Srila Prabhupada has created to protect us is so important, because it gives association, it gives daily Bhagavatam reading, it gives the whole routine where even while we are working as grahastas, we do not miss anything if we are sincere. Otherwise, even staying in Dham, we can live physically in Dham but not be in Dham. We could still be engaged in other things. So one is we are very grateful to him. Second is we have to be very sincere. Even if we have conflicts, I'm saying all this for myself because I know you all have been here for a very long time. Even if we have conflicts with devotees within Dham or even outside Dham with the devotees, we must deal with it. We should still try to live with them. Yes, we can create certain boundaries which disturbs on the material platform, but we have to understand Srila Prabhupada forgives them. Srila Prabhupada invites them back. Srila Prabhupada says, it's okay. Let us give him another opportunity. And so we must understand that mood of cooperation and still be together. Otherwise, it will just destroy our sadhana. Of course, it impacts the moment, but primarily it will destroy our sadhana. So, with that mood, in the last part where she actually explains that this commentation has been finalized in our New Delhi Center today, the 1st September 1976, the day of Radha Ashtami, by the grace of the Supreme Personality of God and the Acharya. And then he gives all credit to the Acharyas. It shows the humility, and he means it. Every time he says that, he actually means it. Another thing that I think I can take and we can take, and even the Lord is, taking the incarnation of the fish or becoming Arjuna's charioteer, is the display of that humility and how he protects his devotees all the time. Srila Prabhupada giving credit to the acharyas and gurus is such a amazing character, which is also the foundation of bhakti yoga for us to make progress. I believe, if I'm right, I heard that Srila Prabhupada was given the title he was given the title of Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati, Bhakti Siddhanta. Then later it was changed to Bhakti Vedanta to separate. Both mean same thing actually. And so coming back to these three things that I've taken from this, this purport. One is association, second is humility, and third is never leaving the dham. Always deal with it, even if it is a problem, even if we have conflict, even if we think that I could have done that better than that person. We deal with it because that is the only thing that will take us back to God. And today, because we read this one, the Prabhupada says, and the Srimad Bhagavatam says, we are going back to God. So I am confident, as long as we don't do anything stupid here, we are going back to God. I'll pause here. I would love to have your reactions and your comments here, because you all have been much more elevated than me. So I would love to hear from you. Yes, Mataji.
Sorry, Prabhu, my hand was up because thank you for bringing us, like this was like you were pulling the boat of the 8th canto to its conclusion. So nice to read together these blessings that you read about us all going back to Godhead together.
Yeah.
So a few points were coming to my mind as you were reading, and so I thought just to turn the nectar. What I noted was that the Matsya Avatar didn't wait for the ocean of as the inundation is going on. He didn't wait for calm waters to describe the scriptures to Satyavrata Muni.
Yes.
And to me, I was just reminded, like Arjuna, in the middle of the battlefield, not before, not after, not in happy times. It's when there's a lot of stress and anxiety, that's when Krishna is imparting this knowledge. So my takeaway from that was like, we don't have to wait, okay, let the kids grow up and let us retire and then we will start this. In the mix of all the chaos, Krishna is willing to share this knowledge, and we just have to focus.
Isn't that beautiful?
Yes.
That calm water is not going to happen.
Yes.
No matter what phase of life we are in.
Yes.
Think that, okay, kids will go to college, then we will be fine. Ask me. My both kids are gone. It doesn't happen. Because old age starts happening.
And the other point you brought up was the demon stole the knowledge of the Vedas from Brahma. And so I found that also very instructive. And I'm like, okay, next time we're hearing all this, the moment I go home, everything else enters my mind, and I'm totally carried away, by the material energy. So I can, put a name, Hayagriva. Don't do this to me. Let me remember. And that was like, the technology to remove it from our brains. This is what our technology that just distracts us completely from whatever we heard. And also writing, giving all credit to the acharya. And so that also, when we say, okay, we're putting hard, but actually please give to this soul of Kala Chandra, because then our
I mean, so many, if we start thinking, there's so many people sacrificed to, especially Kala Chandji Dham, His Holiness Tamal Krishna Maharaj. How much of the austerity that is gone at that time, and the devotees who are now older here, who are disciples of Tamal Krishna Maharaj, Prabhupada's disciples, all glories to them. That today we are sitting in this comfortable place and able to recite Srimad Bhagavatam and ready to go back to Godhead. So really, thank you to all of them. Thank you, Mataji. Yes.
Thank you for the nice class, Prabhuji. You always come and emphasize gratitude, humility, association. All your class resonate. Thank you for constantly reminding. My question, I have this question myself, and my kids also ask me this question, so I don't know the answer, so please enlighten. So like you read the story, right? The story is after you, they say that if you read this pastime, or if you hear this pastime, your sinful reactions are gone and you go back to Supreme Personality of Godhead. And even every Ekadashi story, in the end it says that either if you hear this or read this, all your past sinful reactions are vanquished and you'll go back to Godhead. But that's literally seems not necessarily true. So what's the hidden meaning? What acharyas are trying to convey to us?
In my understanding, correct me, Bhagavatas, it is literally true. I would not call it is not literally, it is literally true. Yes.
If suppose I read one Ekadashi story or read this past days, all my sinful reactions are vanquished. But from that next moment onwards, I am still facing my karma. I realize it, I feel it. So how do we understand is literally?
Yes. So the way I understood is that it is literally true even if we say Hare Krishna mantra one time, like we say one moment. The Prabhupada says that one moment if you say it, you go back to God. It is the sincerity and my willingness to surrender in that moment. That am I actually reading it and realizing it? Yes, this is Lord. Am I doubting it? Those are the impurifications that we have sitting here. That yes, we read it again and again, but we do not accept it as it is. That is what takes some practice. That is how I understood. That one day, when we all chant 16 rounds, some chant 64 rounds, at some point of time through that process, I will be able to chant that one time, that one mantra, that Lord will be in front of me. And He will be most. So we are practicing for that. We are not able to do that with that sincerity that is needed, like Prahlad Maharaj did, or Madhav Maharaj did. Otherwise, it should take this one time. That's how I understand mantra. Mantaji, Prabhuji, you want to add to that? None the best. Okay.
Yeah, this is such a nice point. It brings me back to the story of Dundukari, and he was like cursed, and he had ended up stuck in like a piece of bamboo, and then then the Srimad Bhagavatam, I believe, is recited, and at the end of it, the bamboo breaks, and he goes back to Godhead, and all of the villagers that are there were listening also. They said, "Wait a minute, we also were here listening. How come he went back to Godhead?" I think it's kind of like he's saying, like the intensity. When he was in such a difficult situation, so now you want to get relieved. He was very intensely listening, very intensely hearing. And then also, the other two things that come to mind is like, the fan analogy that's used often. You switch the fan off and there's no more electricity going to the fan, but the fan keeps spinning for some time. So for us, that time can be very long based on our conditioning. And then the other thing was kind of like the analogy of the elephant taking a bath. They go take a bath and then they come out of the bath and then they roll in the mud and throw the dirt back on them. So speaking for myself, there'll be these moments of, clarity and mercy is there. And then I maybe go back into my old habits of doing different things. And so I'm, again, adding more on and not keeping it off. So just a few thoughts.
Thank you very much. I think you were referring to that now all the sins are gone because we read this. So now is it the fresh set of sins that are starting? Something like that you referred. I think so people who are self-realized or who have understood who they are, these bodily designations are not even there. It does not even matter. They don't feel suffering at a body platform. It is always at the level of soul, right? And so once we have that realization, we would have absolutely no reason to distinguish anything around us on the body platform, including my family, my child, my this, my that, right? All that will go away. So if that does not happen, that tells us that we need more purification. Hopefully that a little bit answers.
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much, Prabhuji. I was really appreciating this this little blurb by Srila Prabhupada at the end. It was very interesting, right? That these commentaries from New Delhi and written on Rasmi, and I was appreciating your points of how thankful your gratitude towards Srila Prabhupada and this wonderful society that he's given us. And in that, I wanted to make some remarks of some concerns I have, and they're a little vulnerable in the sense that I'm really hoping people can hear me for what the message is in that this is Srila Prabhupada's International Society for Krishna Consciousness, and we have to be very diligent and really sharing Srila Prabhupada with others. I've seen quite often that we're kind of getting to, here, Bhaktivinoda Thakur appeared in 1838. This is only Bhaktivinoda Thakur, yes, in 1838. This is only about 300 years after the Lord himself had appeared on this earth and established the Sankirtan movement. And when Bhaktivinoda Thakur appeared, the Gaudiya Vaishnava tradition was a laughing stock of Bengal. People didn't appreciate it at all. He had to reestablish it. And I think this is a great lesson for us, that we really need to be diligent in making sure that people understand that Srila Prabhupada is the International Society for Krishna Consciousness. Some concerns I've seen when we go on book distributions. Sometimes we distribute the books of Srila Prabhupada's disciples. And I want to be very clear, I really appreciate the writings by Srila Prabhupada's disciples. I think it's very much necessary. My concern would be is that when we're presenting the International Society for Krishna Consciousness, when somebody's just coming in contact, that maybe we should be giving them contact of Srila Prabhupada first. And I know that some people can be concerned in the way that some of Srila Prabhupada's come about, and there's concerns, but I think that we should really have a confidence that that person, that Krishna will take care of them, that Srila Prabhupada's books will reach their heart, that will go past these difficulties that we see. One other thing is that in the morning at 7:30 or 7 o'clock in every temple in International Society for Krishna Consciousness, Srila Prabhupada established himself Guru Puja. This isn't done in any other tradition. This is to remind us every morning that this is Srila Prabhupada's Guru Puja, and this is his International Society for Krishna Consciousness. So I'll end there, but just one thing. I hope that you guys all understand that I really dearly appreciate all of our gurus, and but this is just a message of, we need to think about some of these things, because it may be we have these very sincere disciples of Srila Prabhupada, but we don't know what it's if we keep on going towards that and not making sure that we stay very steady and giving people Srila Prabhupada. We don't know what it's going to look in like 200 years. We don't know what it's going to look like in 150 years. And so I'll stop there. I have a couple other things. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhu. Anybody else? Thank you very much. Srimad Bhagavatam ki